my life was saved for a reason.
Who is he? What is he? Where does he come from?
It is my great pleasure to present to you Robocop.
In 1987, Robocop became a pulp culture phenomenon. It was the ultimate 80s action movie with over-the-top violence, excessive profanity,
Fuck you!
and unforgettable one-liners.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
It spawned 2 sequels, a reboot, multiple television series, dozens of video games, and endless merchandise. It's been nearly 4 decades since Murphy's violent handjob, and Robo's only made it back to the big screen once in the last 32 years. So what went wrong?
Kid, he's fucked up.
And how did the 2016 election get the franchise back on track? I have all the details, plus all the latest updates on Robocop Returns, so let's get into it.
Nothing I'd rather do.
There's a new guy in town. His name's Robocop.
Distributed by Orion Pictures, Paul Verhoeven's masterpiece is more than a sci-fi action flick. It's a biting satire of a bankrupt city turning over government functions to a greedy corporation and its hyper-militarized police, telling a story through sharp social commentary,
Get them before they get you.
improvised quotable lines,
Can you fly, Bobby?
and intense action. It was a hit with both audiences and critics. Roger Ebert called it ahead of its time, and with a budget of $13 million, earned a whopping $53.4 million worldwide. Naturally, a sequel was greenlit almost immediately.
You may not like what you're going to see.
Orion moved quickly to capitalize on their success. Writers Ed Neumeyer and Mike Miner were given until New Year's Day 1988 to turn in their script for the sequel. Their script, called Robocop 2: The Corporate Wars, put Robocop even further into the future, 30 years after the events of the first film, where cities were being run by artificial intelligence. The cost to make this movie would have been much higher than the first film, and Orion wasn't ready to spend that kind of cash right away, so that script was shelved. Plus, a looming writer's strike would have made rewrites impossible. Not willing to wait for the strike to end, Orion looked to the world of comic books for their next writer. Comic legend Frank Miller was hired to write the script. They also hoped a comic writer would give them a better chance of getting a PG-13 rating, which statistically do much better at the box office. But they didn't get it anyway. All cast members that survived the first film returned for the sequel. Director Paul Verhoeven did not. He had his hands full making Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Make me wish I had 3 hands.
Orion was in a hurry to get the sequel released and refused to wait for him.
Come on, don't bullshit me.
They turned to Empire Strikes Back director Irvin Kershner to take his place.
I have a really bad feeling about this.
It gives me great pleasure to introduce to you Robocop 2.
The sequel released in June of 1990 and failed critically and financially,
I'm having trouble.
bringing in only $45 million worldwide on a $35 million budget. The original film had a perfect balance of social commentary, character depth, and action. The sequel relied too heavily on action to make up for its disjointed story. Peter Weller said that it didn't have a third act or a compelling villain.
What the hell is even that?
Robocop 2 did not make a profit, but Robocop toys and cartoons were still popular. Robocop 2's financial failure, plus a string of flops, put Orion in serious financial trouble. They felt that Robocop 3 was their best shot to get them out of it.
He's already dead.
They pushed forward, but with a much smaller budget than its predecessor. Fred Dekker saw moderate success making comedic, low-budget horror movies, so he was hired to direct. Peter Weller didn't return. Instead, he starred in David Cronenberg's Naked Lunch.
You are making a mistake.
Robert John Burke was hired to replace him,
You called for backup?
mainly because he looked like Weller.
That motherfucker is not real.
More importantly, he fit into the Robocop suits that were made for Weller to wear. While filming, Orion ran out of money and was forced to file for bankruptcy.
You burned the fucking money!
Post-production was put on hold during the bankruptcy proceedings. The court allowed Orion to borrow just enough money to finish the films they had in production. Robocop 3 released in November of 1993, managing only $10 million at the box office.
I'm very disappointed.
Clearly marketed to a much younger audience, it was more of an advertisement for toys than a movie. Director Fred Dekker said it was the wrong story, the wrong script, and the PG-13 rating didn't help.
Robocop 3 is rated PG-13, broadening its already huge audience appeal.
You sure about that?
Naked Lunch did even worse. The movie that Peter Weller chose to star in over Robocop 3 only did $2.5 million at the box office worldwide. The poor performance of the sequel kept Robocop out of theaters for the next 20 years. He would appear only in low-budget television series. Robocop 3 only added to Orion's financial problems. They could no longer service their $700 million debt. They sold their entire catalog to MGM and closed their doors in 1999.
Oh shit. Here we go again.
The 2000s was the age of the reboots. Studios were going through their back catalog and remaking their popular IP from the 80s and 90s. Fans wondered,
where the hell is Robocop?
The answer came at the 2008 San Diego Comic-Con. MGM purchased the rights and hired visionary filmmaker Darren Aronofsky to reboot the franchise. Aronofsky was known for making gritty psychological thrillers and was fresh off his 2008 hit The Wrestler. It felt like he was the perfect man for the job, and a release date was set for 2011. And then bad news.
MGM, which is best known for its distribution of James Bond and Rocky series, filed for bankruptcy.
When MGM emerged from the bankruptcy, they clashed with Aronofsky over his vision of the film. Aronofsky left the film citing creative differences. Jose Padilla was hired to replace him.
Time to wake him up.
The reboot released in February of 2014. It grossed $242 million worldwide on a $100 million budget, which sounds like a lot, but once you factor in theater revenue and marketing costs, the film did not profit. Firing Aronofsky and hiring Padilla made it clear that MGM was being cautious, and it showed. It was a neutered retread of the original. No edginess or satire, given a PG-13 rating. It only scored a 52 on Metacritic, and the general consensus was that it was boring. A sequel had been planned but was cancelled. After another disappointing box office performance for the Robocop franchise, MGM cancelled all future Robocop projects. And then everything changed.
Donald Trump is the President of the United States.
Watching the 2016 election results roll in, MGM President Jon Glickman recalled a plot element from a script he read years before. The unused Ed Neumeyer and Mike Miner Robocop 2 script had a plot element in it in which TV personality Bixby Snyder,
Buy that for $1.
yes, him, ran for president and won. Sound familiar? It prompted Glickman to call Neumeyer just for a laugh and ask him, "Did you predict that a TV personality would become president someday?"
They're eating the dogs.
That conversation evolved into discussing story ideas and how to improve the script. Co-writer Mike Miner joined Glickman and Neumeyer in a meeting at MGM. And they were both hired as writer-producers for a new Robocop project. They rewrote the script, now called Robocop Returns, and began looking for a director. They found exactly what they wanted in District 9 director Neil Blomkamp. Blomkamp had a bold vision. Robocop Returns would take place one day after Murphy shot Dick Jones out the OCP window. Direct continuation of the first film, ignoring both sequels and the reboot, would bring back the original suit and try to entice Peter Weller to return. A release date was set for 2018.
What are your prime directives?
In 2019, Neil Blomkamp announced on Twitter that he was leaving the project, blaming scheduling conflicts. Director Abe Forsyth was hired to replace him. He had a similar vision for the film, wanting to stay as true to Verhoeven's original as possible. But he'd never get that chance. In 2022, Amazon purchased MGM for $8.5 billion.
Join me, and together we can rule the galaxy.
Amazon said they intended to revitalize some of MGM's dormant IPs. Stargate, Legally Blonde, Barbershop, and Robocop.
Thank you. Thank you.
Amazon had a much different vision for Robocop Returns. Instead of the big screen, it would be heading to Prime Video as a streaming series. Abe Forsyth was released. He later said that there were elements of his movie that Amazon was never going to make. Amazon also announced the hiring of showrunner Peter Ocko. Ocko has a long history in television and is best known for shows Lodge 49, The Leftovers, and The Office. In television, he was huge.
That's what she said.
But the hiring of executive producer James Wan gives us the best indication of what Amazon wants to do with the series. Wan is a master of horror, directing Saw, Insidious, and The Conjuring. He also has experience directing high-action films, helming both Aquaman movies and Furious 7. So it appears they're trying to get back to the bloody body horror of the first film, while also incorporating intense action sequences. In September 2024, Amazon released the following logline for the series. The series will follow the premise of the films, focusing on a giant tech conglomerate which collaborates with the local police department to introduce a technologically advanced enforcer to combat rising crime, a police officer who's part man, part machine. There's been no indication yet on who will play the titular character, but Peter Weller
here.
Did return to voice Robocop in 2023 video game Robocop Rogue City.
Dead or alive, you are coming with me.
He revealed recently that he had spoken to Neil Blomkamp in 2018 about returning to the role, saying if the money is right, I'll do anything with Robocop. And in February 2025, it was reported that in a conversation with Collider, Weller revealed that he would be willing to appear in Robocop Returns. Nancy Allen, who played Murphy's partner Ann Lewis in the original trilogy, also expressed her willingness to return to the role under the right conditions. Robocop has never recaptured the magic of the first film, but Amazon has had success adapting similar material, both Invincible and The Boys.
I'm kidding.
Are riddled with satire, dark humor, social commentary, and violence. I think Amazon Prime will give Robo the best chance of success he's had in decades. But will they get it right? What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please like and subscribe. Thank you.